welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Brittany and I'm on a mission to hit 5,000 subscribers. So make sure you click that button below. I would appreciate it. So we're kind of in like a different, really just sitting on the floor. Just thought we'd have like a casual little video. Basically, I'm going to be going over the steps in what I do in order to win over a client. So if you're interested, then keep on watching. So with this video, I'm actually just going to kind of go over the way in which I won over a customer. So we had somebody reach out to me through Facebook wanting me to provide them some custom embroidery work. I'm going to go ahead and pop up an image of what they already had completed. At least he wanted something very similar. He liked the cursive. However, he was looking for something maybe a little bit bolder. So I went ahead, I met up with him for the one t-shirt, as that was all he wanted me to run before he, you know, wanted to commit to the 15 to potentially 20 shirts, even though he did see a lot of my work on Facebook. So I was like, you know what? No problem, completely understand. Went ahead, met up with him. He provided me the one shirt, and then basically what I do is I will then try to create very similar to maybe the design in which I was provided. Now keep in mind, I do not have the same font, which I did have warned him on. So I said, listen, I'm going to show you some cursive fonts, obviously a little bit more legible fonts, and then, you know, maybe bold font. So I'm going to go ahead, pop all those up here. These are the options in which I did provide to him, as well as allowing him to make that overall decision. So again, it's a more custom feature in my personal opinion. So he went ahead, he selected one of them, and then from there, obviously we have to pick out color. Now he did mention that he potentially wanted a cream, kind of like off-white color, which I mentioned in a prior video. I don't have off-white, but I do have a very light cream, and this was going on a very dark navy t-shirt. So what I actually do, and like I mentioned before, is I will run, I'm trying to see if I have the sample, but I don't think I do. I think I threw it away. But basically I did go ahead and I ran a sample just on like a black piece of fabric with the cream. Now me personally, I really didn't care for the cream, so I gave him my honest feedback. I said, hey, listen, this would be the exact size of that image. I gave him the measurements. Again, I'll pop up more pictures of exactly what I sent to him. So I showed him the mock-up of the image as well as just a measuring, just so he can see how big it is. He kind of felt like it was a little too big, but to be honest, we have a lot going on, so I wanted to make sure that it was legible overall, because that was his last complaint with the last, I guess, person he went with, right? So on that, I also did mention, hey, I really am not a fan of like the cream color on this navy. I really think if you want something bold and bright, we need to just go with the standard white, which I am glad that I did put in my 2 cents with that. Of course, I do this as a profession. Actually, I shouldn't say profession. That's a little bit of an exaggeration. However, it is something I do more often than he does, actually. So of course, my 2 cents is always good, and people do like when you input it. So do keep that in mind. Never be afraid to speak up, especially if you're not comfortable with a certain font, it's not coming out well. I've done that too before. I've had a customer who wanted a specific font. I ran it as a sample. I was like, listen, I don't like the way it's stitching out. Let's go with this font instead, and it came out much cleaner. So again, you guys know your machine more than anybody else, so always feel more comfortable with the decisions on what you're making. I digress. So I went ahead, I ran the shirt. He really liked it. I actually met him back up, I believe, this same day. So I was able to do less than like an 8-hour turnaround, which just so happened to be perfect. Just because, like I said, I was running one shirt. It was a super simple image. When I went and dropped that shirt off, I got that 20 orders. So I was like, oh dear Lord, because I actually had another order of 10 shirts, which you guys should have seen that video by now on how to do a perfectly clean logo. So hopefully you have seen it. So I did tell him, hey, listen, I do have a 10 order in front of you. So as soon as I'm done with that, I'll start working on your shirts. Now, here's the thing. Am I exaggerating when I say PTSD? Did I name that right? Oh my God, why am I doing? Basically, where your machine is constantly messing up, because as we know it, I feel like I do nothing but mess things up. So of course, I do have that like fear of ruining products. So of course I did not film any of this since it was a larger image, but I will show you guys, they're right here, but they're actually really interesting fabrics. I'm trying not to pull all of them down. All right, so they're very interesting fabric. They're kind of like athletic, to be honest with you. So this is them embroidered on the sweater. So as you can see, we did the left chest, and of course this is white which I do think came out really well. But these are very interesting t-shirts. I believe it was for like a baseball team, as it does have like a zipper to make it larger in the back. To be honest, I actually really do like this, especially for like a guy's shirt. I don't know how breathable it would be. Like I feel like it would definitely keep you very warm, just because the inside looks more like a rainproof jacket, if you're getting my vibe right there, right? So anyways, that is what I did with these, and I already ran all 20. However, on the other side of the t-shirt here, he actually wants to put the name as well as their number. Now again, when it comes to dealing with custom names, numbers, and sizes, we need to make sure we are doing our due diligence not to mess up at this point, because really these are perfect, except, you know, one tiny mistake could just ruin everything for us. So he did go ahead and provide me a list, like a mock-up list so far, but what we actually need to do is we need to properly organize all the sizes and then the names along with the numbers. So that's where I'm going to kind of show you guys the way I was going to do that. And maybe if you think that it was a smart idea, let me know down below. If you think that there's a better idea, let me know below. We are here to learn and grow together. So obviously you can tell this is definitely not 20. This is like just over 5, right? So he had to then message me the remaining names along with numbers. So here's what I'm gonna do. We actually have majority of them, which again you can kind of see right here, is extra large. We have 2XLs and then larges. So this is the way in which I was going to organize them. Is I was actually going to then say like large, extra large, and 2XL. And underneath each of the categories, I was then just going to put a name and number and kind of just work on that specific size one at a time, just so I make sure I'm not grabbing the wrong size, you know, anything like that. So at least if I know, hey, these 3 names need to go on that large, obviously it doesn't matter which large I grab as long as it's on the correct size. So that's what I'm actually going to do now in the video. And then what we're gonna do after that is continuing embroidering these so we can get that order dropped off as soon as possible. So let's go ahead, pulling up his messages right now, and we're gonna get going. So that was actually pretty quick. My handwriting looks like chicken scrap, but that is okay. There's only one name I do have question on, which is M-I-G-G-Y. I'm not filming. That's your... Stop. So rude. So I am going to verify the spelling of that name, and then basically what I'm going to do at this point is I'm actually going to count out how many extra larges, and 2XLs. I know 2XLs, I only have 2, so those are correct. The only thing I do have question on is, oh, P is 9. Okay, so basically I already know that 2XL is correct. I'm going to check the larges and the extra larges just to make sure that all the names match up with the amount of shirts I have. And then from there, we're just going to kind of go down the list and work this as quickly as possible so we can do a quick turnaround. Oh, let's... You see Missy over here? Let's get embroidering, guys. I'm not gonna lie, that was actually fairly easy to go in, and I'm just working on the larges right now. So I basically went and I did every name along with the number, saved it as a DST, put it on my flash drive, and now basically I'm gonna pull them all over. I believe there's 5 in total. And yes, Mom, I did double check the spelling because I know that's what you're concerned about. If you guys don't know, I am horrible at spelling, and it is very common you will find something I post that I had to recorrect the spelling on, because that's just not my strong point. And it's okay. I've learned to live with it. And my sister always has my back, and she always corrects me when she notices that I post something with crappy spelling. But yes, I did actually verify with the customer. It was M-I-G-G-Y. And I was like, is that spelled correctly? And he actually just messaged me back and he said yes. So we're good there. And basically at this point, yeah, actually let me delete that one because that's gonna confuse me. That was Gary, and Gary, we already did your shirt. So basically we're going to complete 5 large shirts, and like I said, at least at this point, I know I got the names, the numbers correct, and I'm going to just be focusing on my large. Once that is done, I'm actually gonna jump into my 2XLs since I only have 2 there, and then my largest order I'm gonna save for last. So let's, yeah, we already got everything in here. And let me go to, don't you guys love all the deet 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 deet? Let's go to Chuck. Chuck, you're going first. So I'm not gonna lie, I actually thought I did pretty well with keeping everything nice and organized, since I did have a total of 20 custom individual shirts that I did have to complete. And basically I'm just gonna do a recap of everything. The first thing that I did do is I actually mainly focused on this side of the logo, just because everything was going to be the same on every single shirt. So I was just able to kind of like whip every one of them out. I think I did that in about a day, to be honest with you guys. And then since every shirt did have different sizes, different numbers, and different names, I had to kind of organize everything. So my train of thought, like I explained earlier, was to go ahead, I assigned everything its own size. So I had extra larges, or I should say large, extra larges, and 2XL. So those were the 3 sizes I was working with. And then basically what I did do at that point, as you guys will recall, I did go ahead, write everything down, and under each large, extra large, and 2XL, I wrote a name along with the number. So basically at that point, I worked on all my larges first, and then it didn't matter what name I put on which large. So at least I kept everything nice and organized in my personal opinion. Then I went into my 2XL since I only had 2, so those were simple. And then the clips you guys were just watching was mostly me focusing on the extra larges, since I did have 10 in total. And then basically all you'll see here is just a name along with a number. Obviously the fonts are the same for every single image. And then another thing I did do on my machine as well is, as I completed it, obviously I checked it off, so I knew that that shirt was done. Another thing I kept doing as well is I actually kept deleting the name out of my Ricoma machine, and I did that specifically so I made sure that, hey, I already knew I did that name, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. And obviously it's cleaning up my storage on my machine as well as my memory card. So that is very helpful, just to kind of keep everything just kind of like up to date in my personal opinion, because of course you don't want to overload your USB stick as well as your machine. And like I mentioned in a prior video, Ricoma doesn't actually have everything organized when you slip in that USB stick. Unfortunately, you kind of really got to search for it. So obviously, I did see someone post where they said that they'll have like 2 USBs, one for like their backup and then another for just adding it to their machine so they're not like scrambling and searching, which I thought was a great idea. No, I have not bought another USB stick just because I am, I guess, stubborn like that. I don't know what else to say, but maybe I will eventually. But right now, I guess my main focus is just when it comes to like making purchases for my company, I'm buying things that I know I'm going to need, such as like backings, you know, thread, bobbins, things of that nature. I have actually looked in potentially buying maybe 1 or 2 more Mighty hoops because I'm kind of getting a little obsessed with them. And yes, probably for the 5th time I said I need to do a video on it. So hopefully that will be coming soon, but hopefully you guys did find this video a little helpful. I'm really curious to know, how do you kind of keep your larger orders organized, and did you find this helpful at all? So if you could, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next crafting project. Bye everyone.